Indie darlings, people, what's up? We're back.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Indie Darlings. This is the show where we watch indie films that you haven't seen, that no one's seen. We're going to give you a quick overview, give you some fun information. Even if you have seen these movies, I think this is still a helpful experience. Yeah, lots of cool info. I do have a proposal right off the bat, though.
Okay.
Let me know how this sounds. I think, spoiler, you'll see it in the title, the film we're looking at is The Last Black Man in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe just for this episode, we change the podcast name to Two White Guys Talk About Race, just so that people know that they should click off immediately and probably not watch this one.
Probably just dislike it and not watch it, I would say.
Yeah, you feel free to report the channel.
Guys, we're trying to get more dislikes than views. It's never been done in YouTube history, but we really appreciate it if you can make that dream happen.
Yeah, this is
so I would agree with that.
This is our career ender. We both decided.
Yeah.
This is it.
We're going to talk with just complete control over the topic. We're going to...
So much tact, much poignancy. We're going to do our best. As I just said, we are going to be discussing The Last Black Man in San Francisco, 2019 film, Plan B, A24, Indie Magic coming together.
Yeah. What was the third production company? Do you have that on hand on those? Wasn't there a third one?
It was just Plan B that did production, A24 distributed.
Oh, that's it.
Mm-hmm. So honestly, I wouldn't give too much credit to A24. This is a Plan B film.
Okay.
Still love you, A24. Sponsor us, please.
Yes. Please give us some booty shorts, some A24 booty shorts, please.
As always, I'm going to give us the IMDb summary.
That's right.
This one might be the sparsest IMDb summary I've ever seen, and really does not tell you what this movie's about at all. So here it is. A young man searches for home in the changing city that seems to have left him behind. I guess that's true.
Yeah, I mean, at least this one, because the last like log line that we covered just did not cover any of the movie.
Correct.
It was like the first 10 minutes, and then this one like it got the more thematic, right?
Yeah.
Like trying to find home, but it also gives you zero clue as to what the movie was actually about.
Would you like to elaborate a little bit, and I can fill in as well?
On the general concept?
Just the general plot, general concept.
Yeah, so
if you need names or anything, I got you as well.
I have honestly forgotten all of the names in the film. I just knew them by their personalities more. What can I say? I don't go by labels.
How about this? I'm going to give a quick overview of the film, and then you're going to give me your take on it, because I still don't know what you thought about it. I intentionally didn't want to hear what you thought.
Actually, haven't even formed an opinion. I haven't thought about it at all.
So we have, this movie stars two individuals, Jimmy Fails, who plays a fictionalized version of himself. The actor's name is Jimmy Fails. And we have his best friend, Montgomery Allen, or Mont, played by Jonathan Majors. These are two guys who've been in San Francisco for a long time. Jimmy's a third generation Franciscanite. Bay boy. Bay boy's good.
That'll work.
And this story follows the two of them. Really, Jimmy is the main character. We're following his arc, and he's struggling to deal with a gentrified San Francisco and how the culture's changed. And he's kind of reckoning with how much his childhood in San Francisco shaped him, but with what it's now becoming is something far different, as Black people are becoming far less part of the population they had previously. Yeah. I think I looked it up, and now it's about 6% of the city's African American, which is down like 2/3 from the past 20 years. So
really?
It's a real thing.
20 years. Oh my God.
Yeah. So the overdriving plot of this movie is Jimmy obsessing over this house, this Victorian house that he says his grandfather built in the 1940s. Currently, he grew up in the house for the first 6 or so years of his life. His father lived there. His aunts and uncles lived there. It's a very important part of his personal history and really his physical attachment to San Francisco. So currently there's a white couple living in the house. The Fails family lost it in, I think, the 80s, I want to say. But he's still really passionate.
I wasn't clear about the timeline of that.
But Jimmy's still in love with the house, passionate about it. He wants to keep it in good shape, and he thinks the couple that currently resides in it is not doing a good job. So we see him even go into the house to do repairs and other handyman stuff while they're living there.
Oh yeah, the beginning of the movie was so like I was just like the perfect indie. Like there's so many things happening that look so cool, but you don't understand any of them.
Yeah.
Because at first we just get like the first shot is like a young girl like skipping along.
Well, we're gonna get that in a second. We'll do
Okay.
scenes and we'll get to that.
Okay.
This
Okay.
is just basic plot. So we have Jimmy really wants this house. Eventually, the couple moves out over some dispute, um, and it becomes empty. And him and his best friend Mont decide to just shack up inside because that's always been their dream. And hilarity ensues. Mont works at a fish market. He's an aspiring playwright and artist, really artistic, quirky guy. I think that's all we need for now.
It's a good line
So-
of the stage. Yeah.
What were your thoughts? I don't know. I'm honestly curious.
Well, I haven't even formed them yet, so
Good.
so we're watching a live thought performing. I would say good, really, 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 really good. It was
Good.
well, okay. There was some problems watching it because there was your sister was cooking in the background. We
It
had
was
some technical issues there,
far less than ideal watching conditions. I will
Yes.
agree with that.
but it was the kind of thing where it's like, you know, everything was going against you, so you wanted to enjoy it even
Mhm.
more. It was even more special
Mhm.
because your sister just ruined the experience.
Right.
But yeah, no, I think it took me like an hour and 10 minutes to get to the point where I felt like I understood what was going on.
Oh wow. Okay.
Like partially because I couldn't hear some of the words, but also just because like I don't know, I was just kind of like enraptured by the visuals and the like the score. Just like,
Yes. Yeah. The atmosphere is
Yeah.
amazing.
So I honestly, I had a good time just watching it. Not even as like a a storytelling thing. It was just like pretty pretty scenes
Yeah.
and pretty noises going on behind it.
Got you.
So, but then when I actually started understanding it, and like I got the story like a little bit more than halfway through, I was like, oh my god, like it just kind of hit all at once.
Yeah. I would really encourage you to watch it again and or read the script. That's what I just
Mhm.
did. I think this is like top 5 screenplays ever for me, which is
Really?
crazy, but I
Wow.
love the way this is just like the specific way is how I like scripts to be written.
Oh,
It's the
okay.
perfect blending of like realism and conversation, but also that movie poignancy. Certain
Yeah,
characters
yeah.
have the cinematic atmosphere to them. It's the perfect duality of both of those, and you get that in the two main characters. Jimmy is playing
Jimmy
himself
Fails.
and a real guy. Basically, he's subdued.
I was gonna say it felt very There's like blurring the lines between reality.
Yeah.
and yeah.
His lines are very straightforward and casual. And meanwhile, Mont, his friend, is just this super strange, kind of living in his own
How do you
world guy. He's obsessed with writing his play, and he's a very thoughtful guy. He just thinks about other
Yeah.
people.
It's like you don't understand him, but there's a really good reason for everything he does.
Yeah, and well, how about I'll just get to cast and
Okay.
crew. So this is directed by Joe Talbot. This is his feature debut. Really
It's
cool.
a pretty good. It's a pretty good.
So him
debut.
and Jimmy Fails
Mhm.
grew up together in San Francisco, and they came up with this movie when they were teenagers, and they were just walking around
Oh my
discussing Jimmy's past, and they literally like wrote it then, which is just amazing. Screenplay was Joe Talbot and Rob Richard. The story was Talbot and Jimmy Fails.
Okay.
Won the Sundance Award for Best Directing and another
Wow.
general creativity award. Cast already said Jimmy Fails as Jimmy Fails, Jonathan Majors as Montgomery Allen. I love Jonathan Majors a lot.
Oh,
I think
yeah,
this is a crazy performance, crazy good.
Yeah.
He was also just in Spike Lee's new movie, Defy Bloods.
Okay.
He's also great in that. Also in this film are Rob Morgan, Ticino Arnold, Mike Epps, who's really, really funny in this movie. As the guy living in his car.
Okay. Yeah.
He's a great stand-up comedian. Finn Whitrock is the sleazy real
Finn Wolfhard,
estate
yeah.
agent. Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Ooh. If you're looking for a hateable actor, go to him.
If you look at his IMDb page, it's all similar characters like that.
Oh
Because
my
it's one of
God.
those faces where I recognized it, but I couldn't quite put context to it. He always plays little
Oh
greaseballs.
God, that just reminds me of a scene. I don't think it was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but it was something like that, where like they bring an actor on set in the movie who's like the person who always plays the racist person.
Yeah.
It's weird to
And
get typecast like that, but
we also have Jamal Truelove as Kofi. Kofi, we'll get to him later. Really interesting character and a crazy story about that actor.
Okay.
Really interesting stuff. And
It's exciting.
my guy Danny Glover, who's playing Mont's blind grandfather.
Yeah.
Danny Glover's amazing. He's amazing in this movie. He's amazing in everything.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Do you want to get into some scenes?
I'd love to get into some scenes. Scene time.
I have an idea. How about we get into some scenes?
It's scene time. Okay.
Do you want to go? So start at the
beginning. Yeah.
I can give you context too if you want it.
Yeah. No. So it begins with like it's like a young schoolgirl like skipping along, and then you just see people in hazmat suits removing like waste essentially from like this like coastal part of San Francisco, and I was so confused because that set up so many things that I expected to happen, but it wasn't the most obvious things that happened after that.
Yeah.
You know, it was like you're like, who's the girl? What's she gonna do? Like, how important is like the hazmat thing gonna be? Neither of them were like important really at all to the story, aside from like contributing to like the whole like gentrification, like
right,
like there's like the black population is getting like put all in like this like weird radioactive area. Like
I think it basically sets up the stakes of the movie and grounds it in the real life issues it's about. But you're right, it doesn't play much into the actual
which is
story.
great. No, I enjoyed it, but it was part of the reason I was just so confused for the first hour and 10 minutes. But
I agree, that's amazing, and the way it's shot and produced just really, really cool because you get the girl riding by, then we see this soapbox preacher who's giving his sermon to no one in particular about this pollution that's happening.
Again, not an incredibly important character.
No, but he shows up a few times.
Yeah.
He's basically just espousing how these white people in hazmat suits are cleaning up the bay and the surrounding area. So clearly there's toxic chemicals. Meanwhile, African American people who have lived in the area forever are just walking around normally because that's what they've experienced. So clearly they haven't been told about the risks and the dangers of their community. So that's great. And we just hear his voiceover as Jimmy and Mont are skateboarding around.
Oh, yeah.
And we get the opening score, and it's just amazing. And I have some of the sermon written later.
That's good.
It's amazing screenwriting. It's the not realism, but just great, poignant screenwriting.
I think, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah, the whole, like, it's weird how many movies begin and end on the same scene. Like, it's weird how often it happens, but if you try to think about it, it's absurd. But
this doesn't quite.
It doesn't quite, but at the same time, I think, like, one of the parts I loved about this movie that, like, I just hadn't seen in many things is that it, like, condensed San Francisco into like a reasonable living like there's like probably like half of the movie is shot in like just this like one intersection, like you know you can see like so many things happening, and I mean it contributes to the themes, but it's also just like impressive that you can like make San Francisco feel that small,
and you can just feel that they get it. They get San Francisco. These two guys, they grew up there their whole lives, so they can perfectly encapsulate both the physical and the characters that you see in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And we're both fairly familiar. So it's cool.
I'd say experts, perhaps even more knowledgeable than them.
We are Giants fans, so I think that's
it's
kind of the only requisite.
So I think we might remake
We're Bay Boys, right? We're native Bay Boys. I'll do a couple more scenes. You can
please
jump in.
Jog my memory.
One I really love, this is after the couple has moved out of the house and it's empty. It's the first time Mont and Jimmy go inside, and it's just a joyful scene. They're running around the house, screaming, yelling at the top of their lungs. But I like most, the way it's shot is so cool. It's just wide shots of empty rooms, and you just hear hollering and footsteps in the background, kind of slowly getting louder as they go from room to room until you see them.
Yeah. That was great. Yeah, like you don't need to see that.
It's like the house coming to life. It's so good.
Yeah, the house was a character. Oh my God, architecture! Wow, incredible.
This is in the Monster House cinematic universe. Oh my God.
Oh God, but yeah, that just reminded me of another thing. It's just like I don't know why another type of art in a movie makes for really like good movies, because like Portrait of a Lady on Fire takes art and then puts it into a movie, and then it's a movie about art, and then it's just art within art, and it's just like for whatever reason that always just like works super well. And I hadn't seen there's like people always talk about like architecture as a character. Like that's not like an uncommon thing, but like for it to work this well,
Oh,
just like
it's
yeah.
perfect.
So
I have
yeah.
listed basically just all the montages of Mont and Jimmy exploring and fixing up the house.
Mhm.
they're all just great. Their friendship is really cool.
I forgot about the end of that scene that we were talking about where he trips and falls on like the stair landing, and then you just see him smiling with like blood on his front teeth, and it's just like childish perfection.
It's just literally every scene is very rewatchable and good, because right after that he goes out on the balcony and there's a Segway tour going by and there's this just really awkward, daddish, ignorant tour guide
not a bay boy.
Not a bay boy.
Not at all.
He's telling his tourists about the history of the house, and Jimmy comes out on the balcony and corrects him and says, "No, this house was built by my grandfather in the 1940s, actually, idiot."
I don't think there's a greater power differential from a person standing on a Victorian second-story balcony and a group of tourists on Segways below. Like, I don't think there's a greater disparity between two people.
And I believe the tour guide uses the term "dude man" to address Jimmy, which really just all your credibility out the window.
Yeah, sorry, you're out.
This is another there's a few scenes that fit this, but I think they're all great, and this explains the character of Kofi a little bit. So Kofi is someone who Mont and Jimmy were friends with when they were younger. They grew up with him. Now he hangs out with a group of other gentlemen who seemingly all day they just stand on the curb and just trash each other, especially Kofi.
The styles, each of them had like their own like thing going on.
Absolutely,
that was nice.
It's funny in the script I just read, a lot of them don't have names, but it's just like the quiet, boisterous one, the artsy, like, so they definitely had their own personalities. But one of my favorite moments with them is we see them talking to Kofi. I think they're making fun of his mom or something, and Mont and Jimmy walk by, and Mont, I think, just wants to stop the bullying from happening and get in the way. And his chosen method is just to go up to them and start reciting lines from his play in no particular context.
Yeah.
And everyone's just like, doesn't know what's going on.
It's just so absurd. Yeah.
But Kofi seems to respond to it a little bit. Like there's some emotional response.
Oh, I need to watch it. I need to watch that again for that.
So we get the idea that there's something a little bit deeper behind Kofi, and we'll get to that later.
And then that was in this. He directs them a different time, right? He like goes up to them and like gives them notes on their performance. Was it the same time, or is that okay? Yeah,
yeah. That's I think he does it a couple times, but yeah, he's like, good. You're doing great.
That's like the same thing as like telling one like concentrate on breathing, or like don't think about breathing. It's like great job acting. Like if
you'll get into someone's head really easily. Yeah,
beautiful work.
Another scene quickly also involves Kofi. Mont invites Kofi back to the house, Victorian house, with him and Jimmy. And it's just them sitting in the house, later sitting in the sauna, reminiscing a little bit about their past life. And it's just a cool conversation, because Jimmy and Kofi clearly had a lot more history than previously was shown. So they were like laughing hysterically and reminiscing, and Jimmy, or Mont rather, just kind of enjoying the atmosphere and saying strange things as he does.
Yeah, he's just kind of like a passive, he's there for the ride.
When Kofi sits down, he says something to the effect of, "Oh, I'm so glad you sat in that chair. I was wondering what chair you were going to sit in."
Again, throws you off.
Yeah. Jonathan Majors, amazing. And then probably one of the emotional high points, it's probably the climax, is the play that Mont ends up throwing in the witch hat of the Victorian house, the attic. Whole bunch of community members are there. They come, and he writes in like 2 weeks. It's very on the spot. He just gets this surge of creative ideas. And
probably inspired by the imminent foreclosure, or not foreclosure, the imminent, them getting thrown out of the house that they're squatting in.
Yeah. I'll have to go backwards a little bit to explain the play. Kofi is shot and killed off screen. We only hear about it through his friends explaining it to Jimmy and Mont. And so the play, a lot of it is about Kofi and how he's remembered doesn't represent all that he was, and that maybe he was limited by his circumstances.
Mhm.
And then it kind of transitions into the reveal that you know is coming, but Mont addresses Jimmy in the play and like tells him, I know your grandfather didn't build that house. It was built 100
Yeah.
years earlier. You need to just face reality and move on. You're bigger than this city. You're not just tied to that one house, it's an incredible scene.
A tough confrontation.
Yeah.
If you're at if your friend puts on a play and confronts you,
and Jimmy
you've done something wrong.
Jimmy knows this. He's just kind of convinced himself of this lie over his lifetime, and he wants it to be true so badly that he's just accepted that it was his grandfather that built that house.
Yeah, I mean, it's like his entire sense of purpose. Like, after work, he goes to paint the trimming on the edges of the windows. Like, that's his like hobby, is to invade this home.
Right.
Like, I don't think so hard for him.
Well, he even says later, Jimmy says to Mont, like, he feels like it could have been him instead of Kobe that was shot. And really the only thing separating their paths was that house that gave him purpose, or else he'd probably be hanging out with those guys. That's where he used to hang out.
Yeah. No, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, so that's kind of an interesting thing. Do you have any other scenes or shots or anything?
Oh, well, there's one just incredibly nutty shot. Nutty shot alert. Can we get a graphic on screen? It was the one you pointed out that you said is your favorite shot of the whole thing, and it's like the layout of San Francisco, because it's so hilly. Like it's so fun to drive through because it's like some streets are literally like a 30-degree incline, but the shot just starts on like Jimmy skateboarding down a single street, and you get probably like a fourth of a block, of vision, and then you just like it's slowly like like zooming out. Not at like a notable speed. No. It's just you see him like swerving through the streets, and then you just see more and more of San Francisco.
Just keeps going,
and it's absurd because it keeps going like lower and lower.
Yeah,
and
you get the bridge in the background. He's serpentining down. It's just gorgeous. Every shot is just gorgeous.
Just stupid, yeah.
But you can tell. I'm sure Joe Talbot and Jimmy just spent like weeks and weeks going around San Francisco looking for certain spots.
That sounds fun to just
It clearly spent time doing that. Any other scenes? I have some like small ones that aren't pivotal, but I think are great.
Let's see. God, yeah, no, I'm just running through all the scenes, and I'm like, oh, that was a good one too.
Yeah, they're all memorable.
There wasn't, because usually there's scenes that are like, okay, they needed to have this to make the movie make sense, but it doesn't look good. But that wasn't really, like, even in Mont's house, because Jimmy lives with Mont and his dad for the beginning, until they, squat on the house. And, it's just like, a really like, I don't know, tough living situation, because they're like stuck in like a room that doesn't even look like a room. It's probably like, I don't know, 8 feet wide by like 12 feet deep.
Garage. Yeah, it's really
it doesn't look like a living space, but like it's decorated so imaginatively, like just Jimmy's character is so, I don't know, just aesthetic.
Yeah, and we didn't mention any of the scenes with Danny Glover, which are also great. It's like them watching old movies and Mont describing what's happening to Glover because he's
plus his patience. Oh my God.
Oh yeah, amazing patience. But you also get like the conversations between the three of them where Jimmy and Mont are talking about something different, but explaining it to Danny Glover's character in a way where he's getting a different information because he's blind, but like using body language and gestures, they're talking about something else. It's a really really cool dynamic.
Oh yeah, because it's like it's not even just like normal like you're learning something by seeing the different ways the same information is being conveyed by two different characters. Yeah.
Let's see. I have the naked man at the bus stop who's heckled by a party bus. Yeah. That's just like one of those like San Francisco shots.
Yeah.
They have a few of those. They also have a lot of smart shots showing the gentrification, the economic divide. One of my favorites is just a shot of Jimmy riding the back of an acai bowl truck with a skateboard. Because that just perfectly encapsulates gentrification.
Beautiful. Yeah. And I don't even know where he was going. Like it's not even important. Yeah. I'm trying to think of any other main locations that they go to. Seems like, well, they have the car of the comedian. What's his name again?
Mike Epps,
Mike Epps,
and
yeah.
he plays Bobby.
Yeah.
I mean, I really like all the shots of them just across the street with the preacher on the other side. Them just sitting
Oh,
waiting for the
yeah,
bus.
yeah.
They're great. They return to a lot of the same set pieces and kind of show how things change by
Mhm.
going back to them.
Yeah.
You mentioned the ending. I like the ending a lot in the boat. I think that's
Yeah. Yeah.
it's just poetic, classic cinema. But
It's like, yeah, he's going on. You don't know where he's going. You see the bridge in the background. And You're
Yeah.
like, that means something. I don't know what it means, but it it
Yeah.
means something.
Jimmy's
Yeah.
he's in a rowboat, paddling away, going nowhere in particular.
Yeah.
But we find that he is finally leaving San Francisco for good, and he's leaving Mont behind, which is bittersweet.
Yeah.
It's a very bittersweet movie.
Yeah. Very bitter.
It's weird
Very
because
sweet.
it's a love letter to San Francisco, but also just like a brutal dissection of everything wrong with San Francisco now.
Yeah.
It's like a nostalgic.
Oh, it's just like a complete view. It's like everything that's shitty about San Francisco, but then here's the parts that are good. Like, don't forget that there is something
Yeah,
something to treasure there, something to not gentrify out
right.
of the city.
Which I think is perfect. And I was thinking about this. It's interesting. Joe Talbot's white. It was directed by a white guy. Obviously, Jimmy Fails had a lot of the creative authority too.
Yeah.
And there's certain things you could have gotten a different perspective with a black director. But one thing that Joe can do, he's really good at encapsulating the voice of like stupid white rich people. Like he's really good at getting that perspective, which is important for the story.
And not even like, I feel like at times it's frustrating to see just like a pure satirization of like those characters, because then it feels like they're not, like, you want them to be stupid but a little bit complex, like the slightest bit, so that they're still a person but that they're still massively flawed. And I think he got that like super incredibly well, because the two elderly people who owned Jimmy's past house are very bumbling and like very emotional thinkers, and they're just like very strange people, but at the same time you see them lose the house and you can still like empathize a tiny bit with them losing it, but then it's still just like well,
yeah. And I think
not really yours in the first place.
I think he encapsulates something important too, which is a good parable for everything that's going on right now in terms of racial unrest. A lot of the white characters to Jimmy's face or to Mont's face aren't overtly aggressively racist or saying things. They're trying to be nice. Even the realtor sometimes says the right things, like, oh yeah, we're all locals, I wish I could help you guys out.
Yeah.
But he's basically, Talbot and Fails are saying, even if you aren't using those overt expressions of racism, just the fact that they're accepting that they deserve the spot that they're in is upholding systemic racism.
That's a good point.
It's really subtle, but really, really smart.
There was one good point that kind of punctuated that, which is when they move into the house for the first time, Jimmy sees a neighbor walking by and introduces himself as the new real estate owner of that property, and being like, I'm your neighbor, I'm going to be the best neighbor you've ever seen. And the older white man is just like, okay. he seems pleasant at first, and then Jimmy walks away and he's like, what the fuck was he talking about? And there's something racial too. Like, it was clear that it wasn't,
Clearly, yeah. Just the way they looked at him originally, like, what are these guys doing in this neighborhood? That doesn't make sense.
So that was a good, like, face to face doesn't mean, being pleasant face to face isn't, achieving anything really.
Any other scenes or shots?
Let's just go through the whole movie.
we really could. Otherwise, I can move on to some quotes. But
I think we have gotten a number of letters from you, our fans, saying that we can jump around at times, and I think that you're completely wrong. But in case you still have that feeling,
we're trying to be better.
Yeah, we're really doing our best to improve.
And as the executive editor, I take a lot of responsibility, and I'm sorry. I'm really sorry.
So I think just like to give a really quick like recap / filling in any holes. You have the start of the movie. You learn about Jimmy and Mont, just kind of seeing their daily lives, where they work. And you see Jimmy, go to this house. You don't know why it's important, and he's like painting it against the owner's permission. You're like, why is he doing that? Then you learn more about the background of the house, the history, and then you see the old people who own it get evicted, basically. And Jimmy and Mont are super excited. They go in, they take the house, they squat on it, basically. Squat on, is that?
Yeah, squat.
Okay. And then from there, it's just kind of like seeing them like flourish in like this place they've wanted to own the whole time. And then all of their stuff gets thrown out by the dickhead landowner,
realtor. Yeah.
And they get really frustrated. They both go on their own ways to try to solve it. Mont goes to the the real estate dude, and then Jimmy tries to get a loan. It's a really emotional scene, seeing him try to beg somebody for the loan to get this house that meant so much, but it's $4 million, which no one has the money for.
And Jimmy's working as a caretaker at kind of an old folks home, which is he's caring for old white people, which is another great example of what that dynamic is. And then
from there, they both kind of come back, and there's kind of like an interesting time where it seems like the house is going to get taken away, but it doesn't.
Well, the realtor basically says, if you need a week or so, fine.
Okay.
And that's
I missed that part.
Jimmy basically says, we're going to fight this. They move all the furniture back in.
Yeah.
And it's essentially at that point, too, where Mont breaks through on his play.
I was going to say, that's like the pressure he needs to finish it. They start handing flyers to the streets, and then you get to see everyone, including like the preacher and the driver, like they're all coming back to see this play. And then you have the really emotional moment where Mont finally confronts Jimmy, and you see that Jimmy has this opportunity to kind of stick with the past. Who's the character that sticks with him after the play's over? Who was that? Who played on the organ at the beginning?
But his dad.
Okay. Oh yeah. His dad. Okay. Yeah. So his dad is there and like kind of offering him like this way to like accept the past still, and like conform to it.
We should probably mention his parents. Yeah. So his dad is, we assume, kind of the one who fabricated the story of his grandfather building this house and instilling that in Jimmy. That's where they grew up. Mm-hmm. And his dad's now living kind of in poverty in an SRO. He's selling bootleg CDs or DVDs rather, basically out of Jimmy's life. Jimmy clearly has a lot of disdain for him.
Yeah, not like a good image of self, I guess. It's not. Yeah.
His mom, which is one of the most like brutal scenes, underrated in terms of its brutality. Mont and Jimmy are just riding the bus, and randomly an older woman across the aisle says, "Oh, hi, son. Hi, Jimmy." And it's his mom. And he didn't even know she was in town. He thought she was off in another city.
3 months.
Yeah, for 3 months. Clearly no relationship there.
Well, it's just like I've never heard son or mother get pronounced more stiffly than that.
Yeah.
It just feels so transactional. It's like, I shouldn't call you Jimmy, so I'll call you son, I guess. But it meant nothing,
And she promises to come by the house the next day. In the moment she's not going to come.
Yeah.
But it's still so brutal.
Yeah. So you have that, and the whole play happens. Jimmy has the moment to not accept this, moment of character growth, but then I remember a little fuzzy on this part. He goes to Mont at some point and admits that he was wrong about the house, right?
He admits that he knew the whole time that it wasn't real. And he kind of apologizes to Mont because he knows that Mont just wants what's best for him. And he basically reaches acceptance, I would say.
Yeah. And then there's one of the most brutal moments is when he on one of the little pamphlets they distributed for the play, Jimmy writes just like 2 sentences, but it's like, I'm sorry, I don't know how to say goodbye, but thank you for being my best friend. And best friend is in all caps. And it's like, oh God, it's devastating.
Yeah.
And it's like, the note would be nothing if it weren't for the whole movie, but just like, with everything that happened, it just, and then you see Jimmy rowing off and Mont with his father, and it's like, the whole nothing has changed, but everything has changed. Jimmy has taken the parts of San Francisco that were good and he's, developed and going off with what he's learned.
What's interesting? In a way, we've gone 3 for 3 so far in male love stories in kind of different ways. Because I was thinking about
That's true, yeah.
There's no love interest in this movie for any character basically, or at least any kind of tension
Oh,
of
yeah.
relationships. And it totally is them. It's they have this insanely intimate male relationship,
Yeah.
and they just rely on each other for everything. And it's cool. You don't see that a ton in movies.
Yeah, I was crossing my fingers because that's like the indie way to go. You know?
Yeah.
Just make it gay. That's.
I mean, it's platonic, but it's still a really
Yeah.
intimate.
Oh
close
yeah, but it's
relationship.
like, well, I mean, with the whole idea of Jimmy, not being able to escape his childhood, and Mont also just being like a generally like childish character.
Yeah.
Like there's no room for relationship drama. Like that didn't have a part in the
Right.
story that they were trying to tell. So it was nice. Like at the end, I was like, okay, that was beautiful. Like
Yeah.
because like so many like almost every movie has at least like a few minutes dedicated to some sort of like romantic,
Something. Yeah.
even if it's not significant. But this literally had no amount of conflict
And it's
in terms of
refreshing.
relationship.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Good summary. I'm glad we got to that segment. Hopefully you got the gist there.
Sex is bad is what we're trying to say, I think, generally.
It's a sin, and it's always bad.
Yeah.
Overpopulation.
Yeah. It's a problem.
Can I move on to quotes?
Please.
Okay. This is kind of one of the preacher's first soliloquies in the opening of the film. I kind of pieced some of them together. I'd love all this. He says on his soapbox, ranting to no one, but also everyone, this is the edge, bruh. The final frontier of manifest destiny. The last edge of the city. Last edge of the country. Man, 2 steps further and you'd be drinking that filthy salt water. We built these ships, dredged these canals. In the San Francisco they never knew existed. And now they want to build something new? Whole blocks, half in the past, half in the future? But should you venture into their San Francisco, the one they pillage for gold, remember your truth in the city of facades. It's just fantastic.
Yeah, so much.
And you don't, I didn't really immediately note kind of the poignancy of that in the beginning, because you're still kind of just adjusting the scenery.
Well, he's also like a soapbox preacher with no one listening. Like you kind of discredit his
his
viewpoint.
They say he used to be in prison. Yes.
Yeah.
But it's amazing.
But it's beautiful because you couldn't make if a main character said that, I would hate the movie. Like I would hate them for being that explicit. Like it's still beautifully written, but like the fact you can hide that.
Yeah,
there's so much, and then like have that still.
But the thing is, like every line is like that, basically. At least from like Mont and the preacher and certain characters like that. Everything has some meaning behind it. This is just one of my favorite comedic lines because this is a funny movie too.
Oh,
there's a lot of really funny moments. This is Mont and Jimmy talking to each other about the pollution in the bay and if eating the fish is safe. Says, bro, what if OG is right? You should really stop eating the fish out there. Mont says, I think it's fine. I mean, all fish has mercury. He says, no, but I saw a seagull with a dick, dude. Mont says, well, so I guess it was a male. Nah, bro, like a human dick. Something wrong with that water, bro. Really funny.
And it's again the perfect thing where it's not an explicit comedy, but it's just like the little moments that are funny mean so much more because
it's
they're
like
not
real banter and real
yeah.
Even
they also one of them falls in the water and then they see a fish with 2 eyes on the side.
Or no, the fish jumps into the boat. There,
fish.
2 eyes on one side of the head. I love basically all of Mont's dialogue. Here's a couple. This is him talking to Jimmy about Kofi and the bullies he hangs out with, and Jimmy's kind of like, why are you nice to them even though they say terrible things to you? And he says, I shouldn't get to appreciate them just because they're mean to me. That's kind of like Mont's whole outlook. He just like...
That's the best thing. Yeah, that's like the best outlook on life I've ever heard.
It's really cool.
Yeah. That's
which is reasonable. Like that's...
Yeah.
I think that's a very cool ethos. I also like when... This is when him, Kofi, and Jimmy are in the house, and then Mont just says, hey, you guys want to go for a schwitz? And then they head to the sauna. Love that.
Oh my god.
This is from the play. My favorite line from the play. Mont says, let us give each other the courage to see beyond the stories we were born into. And he's addressing Jimmy there. He's saying,
I'm saying
that the screenplay is literally amazing.
Oh,
It's so good. Yeah, great
jeez.
line. One line from Jimmy is another great encounter with two women on a bus, and they're discussing how much they hate San Francisco and how
Yeah.
I think they're just gonna move to East LA because it's just gross anymore. It's not the San Francisco they knew they liked. And
Yeah.
Jimmy's basically like, you don't get to hate it. And he asks them if they love it. And they kind of waffle and says, you don't get to hate San Francisco unless you love it, which is just true. Like they haven't earned anything.
Yeah.
It's great. It's just some of the roasts from the bullies. From Kofi specifically.
Yeah.
They see Jimmy and Mont walking away from Mont's house with some of their belongings. Mont's wearing like 3 hats.
Yeah.
He says Mont looks like the Black Alice in Wonderland, and Jimmy looks like a human cigarette. Those are good. Yeah. It's this like the poignant lines just interspersed in that just realistic banter.
Yeah, realistic banter, but that has so much like underneath it, like
it's super
the normal, real life wouldn't have that much like, subtext, but because it's subtext and because you're not really paying direct attention to it, it works because it's not.
And their performances
obvious.
Are good enough, and the writing's good enough where they do feel like real people.
Oh,
so you're listening to what they're saying.
Because it's still real. It's still real words. It's just the poignancy of all of it. Is not typical.
Here, I just have some interesting facts, more background info. There's a lot of interesting stuff on this movie. So I mentioned that Joe Talbot and Fales grew up together in San Francisco, and this is Fales' life. It's semi-fictionalized, but basically all this is his true family history. One weird nitpick, I don't know what's going on here, if I'm just missing something. They keep referring to the builder of the house as Jimmy's grandfather.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Fales the 4th, but they also keep saying that Jimmy Fales the 1st built the house.
Oh.
So I looked it up, that's in the script. So maybe he's just referring to his great-grandfather as a grandfather.
That seems.
Or I just cracked this movie wide open.
Or take it off Amazon. Take it off Netflix. It's canceled.
I'm giving the benefit of the doubt to the Genius screenwriters.
Yeah. Well, also, maybe time isn't so linear in this movie.
This is a cool one because like I read this and I'm like, obviously. So I just have a question. I'll give you a hint. Does this movie remind you of any other movie that we both adore the soundtrack to a lot? Aesthetically, direction, character-wise.
It's not Arrival.
No. Like, we love this soundtrack. It's my favorite soundtrack of all time. It's probably up there for you.
La La Land, of course. Yeah, no. Oh, God, I should know this.
It's not that obvious. If Beale Street Could Talk.
Oh, I was going to say something again. That's something Bertal, yeah.
So when in pre-production, when Talbot was trying to figure out how to film this, he just cold emailed Barry Jenkins. And he gave him tons of advice.
Oh my God.
And I'm just like, yes, this is totally Barry Jenkins influence.
Oh my God.
But Beale Street Could Talk in particular, like the warm lighting and the earth tones and the wardrobes, definitely inspiration there.
Yeah, that might be the warmest movie I can think of.
Oh, it's so nice. It's so cuddly to look at.
Yeah.
I know it's horrible sometimes.
Yes. Yeah, it's tough. But one of my favorite parts of it that my friend Jack brought up was that he could hear breathing in the soundtrack in the theater, and I didn't hear it at first, and then I listened to it again, and it's like like when you just put a bunch of white noise on something, it feels very like like you feel comfortable because nothing's exposed, but when it's breathing, it's so intimate, like somebody's literally breathing in your ear, but it's not like it's not like it's more just like I don't even know how to describe it.
It's unlike anything I've listened to. It's like viscerally, I just think of like wood and wool and like raw materials and just warmth,
just like glowing
candlelight, super glowing.
Major synesthesia, yeah.
Shout out Beale Street Could Talk. great movie. I didn't know this, but Jenkins had previously filmed an independent movie called Medicine for Melancholy in San Francisco. I think about 2008. So that's why Talbot called him, because he had experience filming around San Francisco. Okay. But clearly, some serious influence there.
Yeah.
Talbot and Fales produced a short called American Paradise with similar themes to this film a few years earlier. I think it was also featured at Sundance, and it's kind of got them going on this journey to this film. Cool story about production. It was a Kickstarter success story originally, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
So they crushed their goal, and that led to them getting some attention from producers, Plan B specifically. And they
glad that worked out for them.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Jamal Truelove, who plays Kofi, was framed for the murder of his best friend by San Francisco police in 2008 and was acquitted 8 years later at a retrial. And the casting team just ran into him by chance. They were looking for child extras, I think, and they heard his story and just cast him on the spot.
Oh my God.
And that was Kofi seemed like a real person.
Oh my God.
That was just a real person in the movie.
Yeah, I was gonna say even more than the other characters.
He's fantastic. But what a story background.
Yeah, I'd say almost the most just from when he's on screen, the most meaningful character in that whole movie.
Just a heartbreaking character, especially after the fact.
Yeah, but also the lessons that we learned along the way. Yeah,
Kofi. So, what was another great line I liked? I can't remember exactly. It was during the play when Mont is reaching out to people in the audience to say some words about Kofi. He's putting up social media remembrance posts and basically saying these people didn't really know Kofi. They aren't really saying anything. And instead he wants real stories from the audience, real memories of Kofi. And he goes to Jimmy, and Jimmy says something to the effect of, well, the last time I talked to Kofi, he said some of the most fucked up shit I've ever heard, terrible things. But when we were growing up in the group home together, he always had my back. He hated to fight, but he always fought for me and had my back. And ends with saying, people aren't just one thing. And that's kind of a theme of this movie.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, it's like a theme of any good movie.
Yeah.
Should have that amount of depth to character, but it really was a theme in this movie, just showing San Francisco being good and bad, and showing the house, that means so much to Jimmy being good and bad. And it's all that. But
every character's flawed. Yeah.
Yeah. The whole social media thing I thought was really cool, because
that just felt very in the now. Real.
Yeah. I think. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. Social media is it's playing such a huge role in things. Not necessarily a good role, but a lot of what I've seen has been good. But I think what I got from the movie is that, it's scary to express a personal preference, especially if you're white and you feel well, I shouldn't add my voice, when other voices should be amplified. I think that's definitely true. But I also think that if you're going to post, while you're amplifying other people's voices, I think it's really important to also have your own in there. Because I think some of the most meaningful things I've seen on social media have been people posting 4 pictures in a row with literally just a text wall, talking about some experience they've had. And it's that makes so much, it makes it so much more meaningful when I can relate it to a person than if it was just reposting something else.
Absolutely. And that's in the play, Mont's not really criticizing that aspect. He's criticizing the vapid, just
absolutely,
people who didn't really know Kofi apparently, but are just
talking about what I got out of it.
Yeah, exactly. That's very true. Another cool one that I didn't know, Danny Glover is San Francisco native, and he wasn't attached to the film at all, but he just called Jimmy Fales to get into it. He really liked the project and the idea, and he really wanted a part. So I'm not even sure if that was a part before he called, but he kills it.
That's the kind of thing you need to be on the lookout for, and then as soon as you see that, just invest in the movie as much as possible.
Exactly,
as soon as you see or hear somebody, or just somebody joining by calling the door, it meaning that much that no one he doesn't have to do anything at this point. Danny Glover's fine, but that it could mean that much. To
Yeah,
somebody.
there was definitely buzz around this movie. I think I read somewhere that
Mhm.
Jimmy Fails became like kind of a mini celebrity in San Francisco even before the movie came out, just because there was so much buzz about this
Oh, wow.
in the art scene.
That's great. Also, shout out Kickstarter.
Big shout out Kickstarter.
Love Kickstarter.
You guys did good on this one.
Yeah, I need to just go put money towards things.
Yeah,
Kickstarter more
honestly.
often. We are sponsored by Kickstarter. Invest in indiedarlings.com. We need money to get our website off the ground.
Yeah.
We have a social media. We have a social media presence.
With any followers?
Presence suggests followers, and we don't have any of those yet because we haven't done our publicity.
But in some ways, isn't that more powerful?
I would say so. I think we're going to be one of those accounts that doesn't follow anybody, or maybe it's like 6 people. We have like Beyonce.
Well, no, that's been done. Having no followers. That hasn't quite been done, and that really is
public or private account. Kind of has to be public, I guess.
You can only find us on the Explore page.
Yeah, if someone's no one can screenshot it. So only we have. So it only means something to us.
Please donate to our cause. We're onto something.
We need a social media. Actually, we are hiring a social media manager right now.
Intern.
Yeah. Manager, intern. So you are the manager, but you're also an intern. So you don't get paid, but you're doing the work of a manager.
You're managing us, but you're not paid.
Yeah. It's a great work experience. And what else are people doing right now?
Yeah.
Possibility of pay in the future. Once this gets off the ground. Sorry, it's already off the ground.
Oh.
But we're investing
off the ground.
Yeah.
Also, we're looking for body doubles for stunts for us.
Because we can't always make these. We know you guys love to see our faces, but we need the facsimiles to play ourselves in the spin-off series, whatever it might be.
You understand.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I move into the soundtrack a little bit?
Let's do it. Yeah, just gotta mentally prepare myself for this part.
I mean, I was kind of like amping up the soundtrack even before you saw this. I told you this was like my go-to soundtrack for a while. And I love it a lot. Ever since I saw the movie. Emile Mosseri did the instrumental soundtrack, but there's also tons of like classic rock songs, blues, San Francisco songs. The big one that's featured is Scott McKenzie's San Francisco. But it's like a blues rendition by a street performer.
Yeah.
Set to Emile Mosseri's horns. We need more horn soundtracks.
Yeah, it's true.
It's so nice.
Okay. Beale Street could talk is a great example because everyone who was a member of a band class hates trumpets because they're obnoxious, and they suck half the time
as people.
Yes, specifically as people, but it's weird. Like when a soft trumpet comes in and just like punctuates something, it is like the most beautiful. Like a French horn. That is a peak instrument right there, just because it's so like.
But you're right. It's a certain kind of way. It's like fragile trumpet playing. You can feel it breaking
it's
a little bit.
It's a unique tone or whatever.
But this they use a lot of tubas in this, a lot of baritones, French horn.
Yeah.
You mentioned a lot of oboe.
Yeah, oboe, number one indie instrument. If you want to make an indie film, you could probably just put an oboe-only soundtrack on Infinity Wars, and it would become an indie film.
I like that. I think you're right.
But what was I going to say? Oh yeah, so going back to the San Francisco, the song. Usually, like, I'm not like a huge vocals person, just like generally. And especially when it's like exposed like that, I feel like it's really pretentious sometimes. Like,
interesting.
It's easy to go off like the deep end and like, well, I was watching the Snowpiercer series, and there's like, this like scene where like, the older like sage person is like, singing a song as like a montage plays, and I hate like that. Just like, I'm done after that. Like, you've lost all emotional connection. Okay. But this time, it did it. Like, it worked. Like, I like it so often. But it really works this time.
That's awesome. There's some Joni Mitchell, Jefferson Airplane, other just great classic music in here. Yeah. It's a San Francisco soundtrack. Yeah. It really, really fits the setting.
Oh yeah, and it couldn't be all sound. It couldn't be all score.
No.
Like, you needed to get like that personality of a song. And
yeah, that would have been. I think that would have come off a little bit as like culturally distant.
Yeah. Oh yeah. If San Francisco is such a huge player, like you
Yeah.
have to make the score reflect that.
Yeah. Because they talk about, I didn't even really know much about this before, but the neighborhood that this house is in kind of the community that was predominantly black for at least a few decades, was formerly Japanese dominant, and it was
That's right.
FDR.
They mentioned that that came up in the movie a couple times.
Yeah, they do mention it. But FDR rounded them up during World War II to bring them to internment camps, and then that was when the black community moved in, and they say like overnight it was basically like the Harlem of the West. That's what they called it.
Mm-hmm.
So complicated history there.
Yeah. Well, again, like architecture is like literally like a social like judgment. Can just come from something as simple as where they're put and where.
Another great part of the lie that Jimmy's dad is telling him about the house, which is an example of kind of the rose tinted glasses that they're putting on everything. He's like, yes, all these Japanese were kicked out, but your grandfather, he didn't want to take someone else's house. He built his own house from the ground because he was a good guy. Obviously, he didn't build the house, and
and
it very well could be a Japanese house. So that's.
But yeah, even going back to the thing about like not doing something is being complicit kind of idea.
Yeah,
it's like saying oh, what the rose tinted glasses. Like even within the black community, looking back at the internment, like having like that perspective of him saying like, oh, it wasn't all bad, or like there's something that came out of it. Like it's fascinating to see like another angle of that from the black perspective too.
Yeah, really, really cool. Every character just so much depth.
Yeah, maybe we'll get this. Oh yeah, we should cover our fan art submission.
Oh yeah.
Thank you to all of you who submitted art for our competition. It was astounding that after a single episode, we got this many entries. But we'd like to announce the winner as Kira Lee from Davis, California. Kira, thank you so much. She made this incredible, I guess I would say, vision board that just kind of encompasses what Indie Darlings we hear, what we're all about. And unfortunately is reversed. Maybe we should do some post effects to try to get this flipped around.
As the head editor, I'll talk to my people.
We got some quotes here. We got indie tough guys, indie machos. We're very sensitive, which we are. We should probably reiterate that.
It's the greatest hits, really, our first 2 episodes.
Yeah.
Or one, actually. First episode.
Duality of Man, Duality of Tan. This isn't mainstream Darlings. Although that is a spin-off show that I'm pretty sure we're going to release. We'll have to hire some people for that. Net Zero Podcast. Was that in reference to our marketing strategy?
No, that was when we were saying pros and cons, and I said I was a con and you were a pro. So we're net zero total. Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah. We also got some new set design. We really went all out.
Yeah, we heard you guys. We heard all your comments on our last. I don't know where you commented, but your comments on our.
Like 30 people said, love the podcast, but we need more mannequin heads. We need more mannequin heads.
Yeah.
Multiple.
And I think we did some product testing, and turns out one wasn't enough, and the hairstyle was a little bit contentious. So we went with both they're
looking really good right now.
I don't know what you call either of those hairstyles. Hot 1 and hot 2. But we're spicing it up, so if you get tired of our faces, which you won't, but if you need to look away because it's too hot or attractive, if you're steaming in your seat, you can look away, check out the mannequin heads, check out the Bon Iver album in the background, just get some aesthetics going.
Princess Bride.
On the clock.
Really
like that design.
That famous indie movie, Princess Bride. Yeah,
all movies are indie until they make $2 million. I think that's right. Another abstract qualification.
We should have a cutoff. I don't think I mentioned this movie made $4.5 billion.
Nice.
I think
a budget of.
I couldn't find the budget.
It's pretty hit or miss. I feel like to find indie budgets, but
I think about $5 million is what we're looking at for most. What this show's about.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I've gone back and forth. Would we do something like Moonlight, which is like a mainstream indie movie?
Yeah.
Good
one. Really good movie.
Obviously, but that's people have seen it. That's not what we're about.
Yeah. And this is the kind of thing, this is the kind of podcast that you go to because your friends are talking about Moonlight and you want to make them feel bad about themselves.
Exactly.
And you pull out the fact that Barry Jenkins was emailed by and responded to, what's his name again?
Jimmy Fails.
Jimmy Fails for this movie, and then you just go on a rant and you don't stop talking because the way this is all structured is that we just kind of go on a stream of consciousness for about 30 minutes and then ground ourselves in whatever structural device we put up.
Or we don't ground ourselves.
Or we
just
don't.
keep floundering.
And so basically we're teaching you how to form those mental connections and then not stop talking about it for 30 minutes so everyone else around you loses interest and accepts that you are the indie king of your friend group. That is what we're about. That is our mission statement. We should put that in the
That's right.
in the Instagram.
That's what you're donating.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we both unfortunately love this movie.
Hate to say it.
Not enough conflict. And normally we would say that this is for people who haven't seen it but want to get the gist. Watch this movie. Watch it. It's amazing.
Yeah. And hopefully with everything we've set up, you'll understand more than I did at the beginning.
Yeah, it's a rewatch for sure is helpful.
I've never tried watching a movie like you watch 30 minutes and then you watch that 30 minutes again.
Yeah, I haven't done that either.
It feels like there's no reason to really, but it feels like it also might do something. At least for the first half, where
it would like feel impure to me for some reason.
Yeah, if it's longer than like an hour and a half too, that'd be kind of tough.
Also, I just want to make a quick shout out, Jimmy. I know you're watching. I want you to know, to me, you're not Jimmy Fails. You are Jimmy Succeeds, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart.
I'm tearing up right now. Colin has never used the word succeeds in a sentence, and it's taken him a lot of effort to get to this part. So, Jimmy, you're the man. It may sound like a joke, but that really means you mean everything to him.
Jimmy, get that IMDb popping. You're not in a lot of stuff. You like Jonathan.
That's true.
Another shot at Jonathan Majors. He's going to be a star. Like, he's going to be a big, great actor. He's insane. He's Yale trained.
I love everything about him.
He's so good.
Everything is good. There's nothing that's like decent or mediocre.
He's the character. He just is the character.
Yeah. Goddamn. But yeah.
Thank you very much for listening.
Absolutely.
We don't know what our next episode will be. That's all up to
we don't even have a hint. Not even something as subtle as a German Navy woman to clue you as to what our next movie is. So it'll be a complete surprise. Maybe we'll put our poll up soon. But Indie Darlings podcast. Check it out.
Thank you for listening.